Hey guys, so thanks for joining us today. Super excited with one of the really the first founding jump off places of entrepreneur, and just to kind of set the stage a little bit, this is going to be kind of a newer approach to a lot of what we've been doing on the capitalization and that side of things. Really focusing more on entrepreneurship and business on, building your own business, starting your own business, making it all happen in kind of a different area. So, new brand, entrepreneur. Yeah,
Yay! Round of applause.
super excited. Yay.
And the crowd goes mild.
Love it. And Jillian, maybe you can introduce yourself and kind of why you allowed me to force you into this kicking and screaming.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jillian Sidoti. I practiced securities law for 15 years. And prior to that, I was a real estate entrepreneur. And prior to that, I'm still a real estate entrepreneur. Once a real estate entrepreneur, never not a real estate entrepreneur, right? Um, and then prior to that, I had started a record label. So I've started a bunch of different businesses, and for the last several years, I've spent my time starting some businesses, volunteering my time, and now really just getting back into the education of other entrepreneurs. I've focused a lot on helping entrepreneurs build their businesses, whether it's figuring out how to raise capital, their marketing plans, their operations strategies. We're going to get in entrepreneur, we're going to get a lot into operations as well. But this week, and for the following weeks, we're all focused on marketing.
And for myself, my name's Nate Dodson, and I'm kind of just a lifelong entrepreneur, always doing crazy new things. I have started, bought, managed, built multiple law firms and other crazy other investments and opportunities over the years. And personally, my passion really is entrepreneurship, much more than law. With entrepreneurship, I kind of see that as the American dream nowadays. Like that, get a job, go work for a company, be there for the next 40 years. Out the window. Even the, hey, go become an attorney or a doctor. You incur so much debt that you're
Still paying
starting.
for it.
You know what?
Still paying for it.
At 20 years later,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's personally, I can tell you, it's absolutely comical. I did pay off my private loans, but what I owed to the government, it's at like 1.7% interest, and I plan to I'd never actually pay it off until they force me into it.
Yeah. It's funny because I've never heard of a number that low. Yeah. That's basically it, for all intents and purposes, that's free money, right? Because it's beating
Oh,
the
yeah.
rate of inflation. So you're better off holding on to that debt, but still it's debt, right?
Yep. It is debt. It will need to be paid, but like that's what we got to benefit from. That's why you're not trying to get it paid off like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, it's like 7, 8% that these budding students that don't make any money, they're just trying to figure stuff out that they're actually
Yeah.
paying in interest.
It's awful. And so, yeah, and what do you have to do? You have to learn how to make it in the world best you can without trying to incur that debt. That's what I tell my kids. I don't know what you tell your kids, but that's what I tell my kids.
I tell them they've got to keep going to school no matter what because it opens more doors, not because it's going to lead to that ultimate job. It's
Yeah.
the flexibility of do what you want to do in life.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about entrepreneurship in general, or we can kind of start hopping into the marketing?
I will. I do want to say this. no matter who you are, even if you're going for that job, you need to think about entrepreneurship and understand how entrepreneurship can be in your life, because the job can go away at any time. At any time. You never know what's going to happen, whether there's going to be layoffs in your company or major economic change or just technology changes. I'm advising somebody right now in one of my advisory groups, who recently lost his job in real estate, and he is having a hell of a time trying to find a job. And so, as his advisor, I'm encouraging him to go out on his own, make it his own way. Don't worry about having somebody hire you, because he's not getting the jobs that he qualifies for, and he's also not getting the jobs that he's overqualified for. They're literally telling him, despite his willingness to work, that you're overqualified. So I cannot stress this enough. You need to learn these skills as an entrepreneur, no matter where you are in your journey.
Couldn't agree more. And please, if anybody has any questions, comments, heck, motivations, please throw it in the comments here so we can make sure that we're keeping our engagement and understanding going, as well as how we can be the most help.
Yeah. I
So
like how I was like, yeah, there you go. Let's make some marketing. Let's make some marketing things happen.
I love it. Well, without further ado, our first ever entrepreneur, let's talk about marketing. And it's why it's so unbelievably important to have a plan in place, to know what you're doing. What are your thoughts?
I've dealt with businesses before that I've been involved in where there was no plan and it's just spaghetti at the wall, and then your messaging isn't consistent, and then nobody knows what you're doing. And that's really what it comes down to, is that nobody knows what you're doing. You haven't identified who you are to even yourself. So therefore, how can anybody else know who you are and what you represent? So you really need to have that brand voice so your audience doesn't get confused, because otherwise they're just gonna, especially with this age of like overload of information, people are just going to scroll on by. So you want to have that consistent marketing message, and the only way you can have a consistent marketing message is if you have a marketing plan.
And just to kind of add to that, in my entire experience, it has been just throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks. And the amount
Sure.
of overspending and wasting efforts and wasting time.
Yeah. And this doesn't have to be hard, right? Like, and hopefully what we're going to show you here is going to actually be really, really easy. And it's funny because we have a download for you guys all to get that can help you on that journey of not so much creating the marketing plan, but actually getting leads through the door. But well, you know what? I'm jumping ahead. I'm going to let you steer this ship, if you will,
No,
Nate, because
you
I'm
nailed it, because we're going to talk about the importance of building your own network. And part of that is building your email lists from your lead magnets. So throughout
yes.
this presentation, down there in the little corner of the PowerPoint, there's going to be a QR code. We'll bring it up again later on. Kennedy, if you don't mind throwing it in chat also. But it is literally ideas for you to build your network and build your list, and some great information. Get started on that stuff. Now it's kind of interesting when you're marketing. Like, we're talking about marketing before you're marketing. The actual planning before you start moving forward.
Right. Right.
And that always begins with market research.
Market research. It's funny too, because market research has changed so much in the last several years, with not just the proliferation of social media, but also um, the tools, the tools out there, the AI that's available.
Oops.
Just totally change things. Yeah, so um, one of my favorite tools, Nate, to use right now is an AI tool called Perplexity. Perplexity not only gives you if you're super specific with what you're looking for, it will not only give you answers, but it will also give you sources for those answers. And another website I'd like to throw out there is answerthepublic.com, because answerthepublic.com is really telling you people are searching for and what people are looking at. And finally, just a list of your competitors and what are they doing? What are they doing? I mean, you can only tell so much from social media, but you can glean some really, really important information.
And, just to expand on that, if you want to do a good job marketing, look at what the market is you're actually targeting and what are your competitors doing and how are they strategizing and how are they accomplishing it? Because let's be honest, you don't have to recreate the wheel. You just have to do as well or better than the guys that are already doing it. So really diving
Yeah.
in to know your market and what they're doing, one of the most important things.
Honestly, you can't even feel bad about this at this point yeah, for lack of a better term, stealing. Because I remember when I was at my marketing height for some of my businesses, um, invariably I would send out an email that would be like an original thought of mine, and a couple days later, a competitor of mine who didn't realize I was on their mailing list, right, would send me an almost identical email. So look, that's just what happens. And so you can't feel bad when you're out there and you see somebody who has a good idea and you want to run with that good idea, go for it. And I'm not talking about stealing intellectual property. Do not do that. But if a marketing concept you see resonates with you, is working for somebody, go for it.
At the end of the day, what's the biggest, best competitor doing? And don't plagiarize, don't steal, but
Yeah, no, don't break the law.
yeah, well, some replication definitely can get you ahead of the game. And that really, it takes that market research to know what the other guys are doing. When it comes to, oh my God, one of the most confusing concepts when it comes to marketing, at least if you ask me, and it's not just marketing, it's kind of business in general, that SWOT analysis. And maybe, Jillian, you could dive in a little bit deeper of what that actually means. I know it's one of those things that we all use a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I actually love doing SWOT analysis no matter where you are in your company, including for marketing. So what I would encourage you to do that if you're focusing on your marketing plan, that you really want to focus on the marketing plan. What's the SWOT analysis for your actual marketing? But don't stop there. Even when you're making your marketing plan, start with the SWOT analysis for your marketing and then expand that to your SWOT analysis to other aspects of your business. And why do you want to do this? Because let's just say you do the SWOT analysis for your marketing and you find where your strengths are, you find where your weaknesses are, et cetera, et cetera. You look at, let's just say you see an opportunity in social media, which is also your weakness. So you make a plan to move that part of your business into strengths. Great. Then the phone starts ringing. What happens if you do this SWOT analysis, you make adjustments to your marketing and you carry that out, but then you don't have the customer service and operations in place to fulfill that new demand? That's a problem. So when you're doing the SWOT analysis for your marketing, I want you to have two different SWOT analyses. I want you to have one for marketing, and then I want you to do a company wide SWOT analysis. So you truly understand where your weaknesses are in your business. Because if you have a flood of, of clientele coming in and your customer service for your supply chain is not where it needs to be in order to fulfill that demand, then what's the point of doing great? So for me, that's what's really important about doing your SWOT analysis.
And just to kind of add a little bit more to that, at the end of the day, I mean, SWOT, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. To look at that from your business approach, we all have the things that we do better than the next guy. We all have our downfalls as well. And having that awareness of yourself, of your business, of your positioning leads you really to that. Again, we're talking about a marketing plan. What's the best strategy for you? And
Yeah.
again, we're trying to avoid the mistakes that I've definitely done and plenty of others of throwing that crap against the wall and seeing what sticks. This is more of that sniper rifle shot rather than the buckshot for I guess the best example I can give.
Sounding like a true Texan.
You know what? Yeah, at least in Texas, where I'm at, you don't mess with anybody because you don't know if that, 13-year-old or the 70-year-old grandma all have guns in the back of their trucks.
Yeah, I don't want to find out.
All right. I know that this is one of your most exciting. You're really targeted, so important to you. So I'm going to step back and
It's
let you
so
talk.
funny to yeah, Nate, it's so funny to me. I recently taught a class on capital raising, and I talked about capital raising and who is your investor and the target audience or buying persona for your investor. And it's always incredible to me when people actually have no clue as to who their target audience buying persona is, where this is also called avatar. And this is who is buying from you. And so a lot of times what I'll hear is like some person way out in left field, and I'll give an example that I hear it all the time, but I'm going to give the best example ever. I had a client once who I asked, "Who are your investors?" And he's like, "Well, I'm going to target lottery winners and young men who've recently signed professional sports contracts and don't know where to put their money." So, lottery winners and professional sports players and or professional athletes, sports players. Sorry about that, sports players. So professional athletes and lottery winners. And so I said to him, I was like, "Well, do you know a lot of lottery winners? Like, are you a lot of, like, is there a club for that or something? Or do you know somebody who can introduce you to lottery winners? Or do you cater to lottery winners in another business or something like that?" And his answer was no. He just thought that was a good idea. So, the thing is, you first have to figure out um, who is your audience. And this isn't just men between the ages of, you know, 25 and 65, way too broad. It's not just you know, women between the ages of 25 and 65, again, way too broad. You really want to make sure that you have narrowed down your target audience very clearly so you know who they are. Now, this doesn't mean that you only have one buying persona. As a matter of fact, I would argue that you have multiple buying personas. Usually, I like to tell people look for four buying personas, but you really want to get specific with who these people are. How do they vote? How much money do they make? Where do they generally live? What are their hobbies? And really, probably the most important thing that you need to know, and believe it or not, is what do they fear? What are they afraid of? And how can you solve that problem of what they're afraid of? And how can you somehow insert joy over that fear? Like, where can you impart joy instead of fear? And what I mean by this is like there's somebody I follow on TikTok, They're called Mohawk Chevrolet, right? They have some of the greatest TikToks, and it's not just one big advertisement for their Mohawk Chevrolet. And Mohawk Chevrolet does these office type videos called The Dealership. And it's all about the marketing department at Chevrolet. They're hilarious videos. In the meantime, they're advertising Chevy Silverados. They're reaching their target audience. They're inserting some joy into people's lives. And they, you know, the 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 fact that what is the fear that they're overcoming with people is whether or not they can afford a new Chevy Silverado, right? So these are great videos that reach a certain audience. Now, I would guess that their audience is people who are between the ages of 35 and 55 who have middle to high incomes that are looking to buy a new truck and have seen the office, right? So that's a pretty broad base because that's women, that's men, et cetera, et cetera. And they're inserting joy by doing this, Mohawk Chevrolet office type of commercial, if you will. But it doesn't have to be that's humorous. It's funny. It's entertaining. I'm not going to be buying a Silverado, but I watch all their videos. So and then they become famous in their own little market wherever Mohawk Chevrolet is. Now they're famous, and people think of them when they think about buying a new car in the marketplace. So there's that, but you don't have to do that. You could also, if you look at any billboard, for example, in airports, those usually take a much more serious tone. Like, for example, Fidelity. I saw a Fidelity ad once in an airport, and clearly their buying persona were people who were thinking about retirement. So we're going to guess people who are 40 and older. And the whole entire thing was, what does the first sunrise look like on your first day of retirement? And all it was pictures of people looking at sunrise. I mean, like a huge mosaic of people looking at sunrises. And the dream of retiring and overcoming that fear that you wouldn't have enough money to retire, Fidelity is going to solve that. The joy is in the sunrise. So what the first thing you want to do is figure out who you're speaking to understand what is going to make those two things tick. And the
If I
only way you
could
can do that
hop in there for a quick second,
too.
because you
Oh,
just
no,
did
no, no.
a really a great example of Fidelity advertising in an airport. Who's traveling? The people that have
Exactly.
time, the people that have
Mhm.
wealth, the people that are actually saving because they're not grinding it down at their office job that they're not allowed to leave or go anywhere or have vacation. So it is like very smart and targeted of what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
But something that's really, I took a course once on these buyer personas, and you can actually take it to that next level. A weird example are insurance companies. If I'm out there as an agency selling insurance, there was a study, and people that buy insurance tend to also have pets. So actually advertising and targeting the Facebook groups, the online groups that were really focused on pets was a unique strategy that nobody else had recognized, but it actually still is that buyer persona, that target market beyond just, let's think about age and income. So it's you can go beyond that, who's the general market to crowdfunding lawyers. We're talking about entrepreneurs, we're talking about active real estate investors, people that are in the investment world.
Yeah.
It's really starting to niche it down more and more.
Yeah, you want to get into the head of your potential buyer, right? Whoever it is. Whoever your customer is you've got to get into their head. You can't do this without understanding so many different facets of their life, what makes them tick, what keeps them up at night, what makes them get up in the morning. What are those things?
Love it. Well, really appreciate your thoughts on that. And to hop on to the next, the unique selling proposition.
Mm.
What makes your product different than the next guy's?
Yeah, I mean, look, how many times do people not explain this at all? I mean, I even watch people on Shark Tank go on Shark Tank and embarrass themselves because they don't have the unique selling proposition. And by the way, I want to be very, very clear. Your unique selling proposition isn't that you're less expensive or you're cheaper most of the time. Even if you are less expensive and cheaper, that is only I would wrong word, but I'll use it anyhow. Byproduct of whatever it is you're pushing. Like I'll use the online retailer Shein as an example. Shein has like really inexpensive clothing, right? And that's why a lot of ladies buy Shein clothing because it's inexpensive. But it doesn't matter how inexpensive it is if it's crap, if it doesn't look right. So the balance, there's a couple things that Shein balances there, right? They are great savings, so there's a bargain there, and our bargain hunters love that, right? Um, and you can get free shipping. That's another thing, and you can get it quickly, and it's fashionable, right? We look at fashion trends and we try to imitate those fashion trends. And I would say it's in reverse order: fashionable, quick shipping and free shipping, inexpensive prices. Because otherwise you'd just be down at the local JC Penney's buying whatever, right? But that's not what people doing. They're buying stuff from Shein. So your unique selling proposition has to be just that. It's got to be unique. It's got to be a combination of things or something that really makes you stand out. And 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be price.
To use my own example with crowdfunding lawyers, we don't like to, and I refer to them as the least cost providers. You get what you pay for, and generally those are just kind of the document mills that you're working with paralegals. You're not getting the advice. You're not planning out your future, but you can get a cheap document. That's not our target. We want to give the advice, help with the plan, help build the team, create your opportunity. But at the same time, it's not just about a document. It's not only even just about advice. We take the approach of, I call it our Michelin star service, because we want every client to have an experience that's way different than dealing with most attorneys, which, I know, my whole team knows most of the time attorneys are jerks. So we try to take that different approach. That's, just kind of not trying to toot our own horn, but that's the example of a unique selling position that we really leverage in my own business.
It's so funny. I want to say, I want to just speak to like my whole rant on costs too. If you look at somebody again, like McDonald's, who, is cheap food, right? It's cheap food. But McDonald's still doesn't do their commercials with they don't come out there with like, we're the cheapest food. It might be one of their bullet points, if you will, in their commercials, but they're taking the most glamour shot pictures of their food, of families enjoying the food. And then a byproduct of that is that you can get it on, well, there's no dollar menu anymore, right? It's the value menu. Thanks, inflation. Right? You can't get can't get dollar menu items anymore, but you can get like $1.50 items, right? So, but the point is that is like, look at our incredible looking ice creams and burgers and our families being happy and having joy and sharing a meal together over McDonald's, and I'm loving it. Blah, 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 blah. you know, there's joy there. And then I'm loving it. We're the cheapest price out there, right? So just keep these things in mind when you're considering your unique selling proposition. What are you basically giving to that person that they can't see on the surface? And you have to bring that up.
You know, if I want to hear what your thoughts are on something that's happening in the world, and it's Subway. Subway has gotten so expensive, their price and inflation has gone through the roof. But you know what? Now they're coming back and they're having like these 50% off sales. I mean, it's their, what's their unique selling proposition? Because it used to be value, it's not anymore.
No, you know, honestly, I wouldn't say food poisoning, but I got sick at a Subway once and I've never gone back since. I hate, like, of all the fast food, if I had to rank it and put one last, it's definitely Subway. It's like at the bottom. The, listen, listen, everybody out there, listen to me. Cold cuts in New Jersey should not taste exactly the same as cold cuts in California. Sorry. Like they should not. The fact that the bread smells like you walking down the street, you could smell that nasty bread cooking. It's like, yeah. So like, no, thank you. Anyhow, with
Well, you
that
know
being
what? I
said,
gotta say, because that really relates back to what we're talking about. Both they're not understanding their unique selling position, nasty stank, or buyer profile. Their buyer profile in Jersey is not the same buyer profile in California, but they're trying to approach it the same way, which is asinine.
have to go back. I mean, I hate to bring this up, but they really have to go back to that whole Jared guy who's in prison now marketing angle, right?
Let's leave
Find a
that
new
one alone.
Jared. Yeah, find a new one. Like find somebody who's less pervy, who you know, can lose weight on because that's how they made all that money. Is the $5 foot long. They got to elevate. If they're gonna raise their prices to the point of where nobody wants to eat it anymore, they got to change the formula. They got to change the recipe. Again, like peppers should not taste exactly the same in California and New Jersey. They shouldn't. Like it's just such Frankenstein food. Um, it's gross. Change the bread.
Well, we
Uh-huh.
had a great question from Alfonso. Thank you so much for piping in here. And it's part of our planned discussion points, but I'm just going to hop right to it. KPIs.
Yeah.
Because when you're
Yeah.
planning stuff out, it's not just about the launch, it's about how are you keeping up with how well it's working.
What are the results? Right. Why, like, are you going to continue with throwing spaghetti at the wall, or are you going to actually track what you're doing to see if it's actually working? It's such a great point. And I remember, you know, prior prior when I was working at the law firm, I tried to introduce this into the law firm, and it was met with such great resistance because, like, well, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. I want to know why we're doing fine. Tell me why. How can we adapt? Just like you have there on the screen, how can we adapt our strategies based on the results? Like, what do we need to do to continue continue improving and making and doing better?
And let me speak a little bit more too, because you know it's been a change since you relinquished control of crowdfunding lawyers over here, and thank you for that. It's been a wonderful past 4 or 5 years now. But we really keep up with this data-driven KPIs, and very specifically for our business. If somebody needs help with securities transactions or real estate transactions, if they need it, we just want to be top of mind.
Right.
So it honestly is more awareness. Do people know who we are? So we really keep up with how many hits on the website are happening where are they coming from and how? Because there is, is it coming from organic kind of SEO? Well, are we doing a great job with our blog? Is it coming from social media? Or just the fact that we're top ranking for crowdfunding lawyers because we literally own the phrase. That awareness and top of line is so important. Next step, they got to our website. We like people to receive our newsletter. And it's not just because here's some great information about the securities market. It's that constant reminder of who we are, what we do. It's called drip marketing. Our KPI is how many were sent out and how many got opened and read. Super important KPIs, at least for us to be watching out for. But for another business, it may be how many leads to how many sales. Different approaches for different unique selling propositions. So I don't know if you have more to say about this.
I would say that, that's the great thing about what you're saying is that you need to be able to articulate it, right? And if you can't articulate it, then that's a problem. And if you can't articulate it in less than 30 seconds, that's I think that's really, and we're not talking about an elevator pitch. It's understanding your own business so well that you can get somebody to understand it within 30 seconds. Like, when I remember when I was just because we're here and we're talking and we're on the crowdfunding lawyers channel, when I first started the law firm, it was really hard for me to articulate what I did, mostly because people didn't understand. I would say I'm a securities attorney, and that means, and like I'm a securities attorney is like you can see people just shutting down. Half the time people thought securities means that I provide security systems or something like that to businesses. It was very, I learned very quickly that I had to come up with my pitch, even if somebody was not my end buyer, my persona, or what have you. I knew that I had to make sure that I could articulate to them in less than 30 seconds exactly who I was and what I did and what the firm did. And so it would be like, when businesses were looking to raise capital and they need legal documents to do that, I'm the person they go to. And that made that cleared everything up. I didn't have to say I am securities. I didn't have to say I'm an attorney. I just said when somebody needs legal documents because they want investors to come through the door and they want to do it the right way, they call me.
Yeah, love it. It is all about that awareness. I do want to mention, only because we've started to go through quite a bit, we did put together a laundry list of lead magnets for you to, hey, you're interested in building your own network. Your network is your net worth. And leveraging lead magnets and funnels is one of the best ways to continue to grow your community, grow your network.
Sure.
So throw up the QR code. It's also in the presentation and in comments. But we're not only here to help. If you're interested in more of this kind of more broad entrepreneurship educational, please get this information so we can continue to help share more as well.
And also in the comments below, please let us know what other topics you want to hear about, because we can only give you the best if we know what it is you want. And people who are watching the stream are our personas. You can find one buying persona for us, Nate. There you go.
It really is. And our unique selling proposition is we're not selling. We're truly here to help because we love the area. And if we can bring value, if we can help you grow at your business, your dreams, then we all do better. Our entire country does better. Everything does better. At least that's the motivation that I see it. So that was the little self-interested pitch, but you know what? It's something you're having the plans come together. Now it's time to figure out how to implement, and that starts coming down to how to pay for it. Maybe you could share a little bit more about your own experience in how you budgeted, how you made sure that you could actually pay for the marketing that you do with your own business. Uh-oh, we can't hear you. Don't know what happened. Well, I will go ahead and get started and talk about budgeting, because it is one of the most important things that we really pay attention to in our own business. And I have really, at least for our law firm and for law firms in general, have been able to identify that where you spend about 10% for maintenance marketing based on how much revenues are coming in. And then if we're in growth mode, we're generally spending 15% of revenues to create more awareness, more introductions, to continue to expand that network. So at least for us, we can look at our revenues, figure out what our marketing budget is, and then it comes down to where's the best bang for the buck. Some of these things, this as an example, it really doesn't cost much. We just want to get out there and help people versus doing pay per click or doing event sponsorships. That can cost a whole lot, but there is more one-on-one value from that kind of marketing. Jillian, you're still having a little bit of back and forth sound issues. So let's hear from you and see if we still have these problems.
Get my microphone back, so I'm on my webcam microphone now. I hope it's okay.
I'm just going to cut you off. You are sounding like the teacher from the Peanuts. A lot of blah, 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 blah. And don't take it personally. That's just the sound that was coming through. So let's try this one more time.
Does that sound any better?
It's definitely better. So please continue.
Okay. All right. So we got that at least going for us. All right. So it's better, but it's probably not great. Next time, Jillian will make sure that her microphone is completely charged. Sorry about that, everyone. Everything you said is true. It's 10, I always used a rule of thumb. If it wasn't 10% of what I was making, it was 10% of what I wanted to make, right? And the huge part about marketing is that you make sure you measure twice, cut once, right? And you're not throwing money out to opportunities. I've made this mistake so many times, just throwing money at marketing opportunities because they were there and you thought you had to do it and it was too good to be true. Like, oh my God, this is gonna be smashing for my business. No. Generally speaking, one single marketing event, one unicorn is not going to cut it. It's accumulation of events and of consistent behavior. Again, this is why we write a marketing plan, so that we have consistent behavior, and the consistent behavior has got to be that you're continuously marketing in multiple places with different people in different settings, but at the same time that you're not just throwing money into a marketing machine that has not been vetted and tested, and then doing those KPIs at the end of the event. How many leads did we get? Nate, you and I have talked about, I used to go to this, I won't say what, but I used to go to conferences all the time, and we would pay sponsorship fees for these conferences. And then I realized all my competition is here at this conference with me, paying to be here as well. We're fighting for the same pool of people. So actually what I started doing was stopped going to the conferences, stopped paying the major sponsorship fee, and instead started targeting by geolocation, Facebook ads and Google ads during the conference itself. So if people were looking at their phone during the conference and they were looking at Facebook, my ad would come up. I wouldn't be there, but my ad would come up. And those are some of the unique ways that you can still, take advantage of expensive marketing opportunities without actually going through the expense of the marketing opportunity.
You know what? Thank you, because we are all here to learn a thing or two. We are still paying that arm and a leg to do these sponsorships, but I will say, I don't know if it's the expense or we've just done a much better job. A lot of that competition is dropped off. And now Crowdfunding Lawyers is right there, center stage, doing our thing. So the game has changed a little bit, but I love the idea of saving that $5, $10, $15,000 and just reallocating to pay per click, geolocated exactly where those events are.
Yeah.
That's frankly brilliant and a great SWOT analysis.
Yeah, and I can't emphasize this enough. You guys, we're giving you a download of 28 free lead magnets, and we'll show you the QR code again here in a second. Oh, there we go. Look at Nate on the draw. But I can't emphasize this enough. This is your best marketing right here. These 28 lead magnets are your best marketing, and here's why. Because when you get somebody to sign up for your mailing list, you now have a captive audience member for as long as they stay on that mailing list. Of course, there's no guarantee they're going to stay on that mailing list, but so long as you send them relevant content, don't oversell them, give them good opportunities and good information, then they're going to stay on that mailing list, and they're going to, and they will become engaged, and they will be customers. And that's practically, not completely, but practically free. You still have to pay to, you have a mailing list provider, but what is that? Maybe a couple $100 a month once you build your list to a certain level, and the time you invest in putting a newsletter together, and that's it. But those are captive members. This is why social media is so powerful. This is why lead magnets are so powerful, because you've just cut your marketing budget in half when you really spend time on building that list.
And to reflect back on kind of our buyer persona, the guys that are raising capital, this honestly is one of the most important things, because what I'm always trying to encourage people to do is build out their own newsletter. Make sure as many people as possible know about what you're doing, know about the industry that you're working in, and know you. But you got to have people on that list, and that's where these lead magnets, to get the information, to provide that value, and value is one of the most important words to remember, because if somebody's not getting value, then unsubscribe.
So I just want to say something about those lead magnets too. We gave you 28 ideas for lead magnets, but the problem is this: the thing where the download falls short. I'm going to give you a hint on how to use that download effectively. You have got to be thinking about your audience, not thinking about doing an advertisement for your business. Like, I'll use capital raising as an example. Lots of times I've helped people put together lead magnets for investors. And so many times the ideas that my clients will come up with are like, why you should invest in our fund. That should, like, a free report on why you should invest in our fund. No. You need to give something to your buyer that's useful to them. So if you're say a real estate entrepreneur in the Northeast, and you want to give some tips and tricks to your potential investors, download our free guide on 10 ways to winterize your home. Right? That's something that's useful to your persona. Most likely, if you're a real estate entrepreneur who's looking for real estate investors to invest in your real estate deals, then what are you what do they do? They probably own their own home. They have income. They probably live in Detroit or in a cold location. That's something that's useful to them. And by the way, that's a good / lame example, but it's an example nonetheless that gives you an idea of like, you need to be providing something that speaks to the ego and the fear and the desire of the buyer, not something that's going to, the idea is just to get their email address, not to inflate your own, and not to get them to do something else. All you're getting them to do is to download what you're providing, or view what you're providing, or take whatever quiz that you're providing, not to buy anything to you. This is the top of the funnel. If you guys have ever heard of funnels, this is the top of the funnel stuff. We haven't gotten them to buy anything yet. We're not looking for them to buy anything. We're just looking for them to be engaged and interested. That's it. And if you stay focused on that, then your lead magnet will work. Thank you. That's my
we
TED
got
Talk.
one of the well, we've got the best comment from Kathy Crow. That is so true in everything that we're talking about. And hey, Kathy, I know that you and Jillian go way back, so thank you for being here. But if you make it all about them, then it will be all about you.
Yeah, that's right. That's so true. That's so true. Thanks, Kathy.
So, all right, we've got about 9 minutes left. If you have any questions, throw them in chat. But I want to talk about one of the most important things: how to implement. We've talked about the planning part. When it comes to actually implementing, actually taking action, it's kind of like us getting out here. The toughest part is getting off that starter line. So.
Yeah. I absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with social media managers who've told me to make videos of some sort or another. And I'm like, I'll get to that later, and later never comes. So yeah, you just have to start. And honestly, again, back to the consistency, this is all about habits, having good habits, creating the plan, and then sticking to the plan. It's like working out. It's like eating better. It's like any habit. If you don't do it consistently, it's worthless. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. So and then if you go back to the KPIs and you schedule KPI meetings, like we are going to talk about our results every Tuesday at 1:00 on the EntrepreKnewer Network, and we're going to talk about how we implemented our amazing marketing plans that we made last week. Then you will see results. You might not see results as quickly as you would like, but you will see results. But you got to be consistent.
Consistency is one of the most important things. Agree with you 100%. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and talk about what we're doing here and now.
Yeah.
I twisted Jillian's arm, kicking and screaming, to be out here for us to focus on this. But the plan is to keep providing this value, to keep helping, the entrepreneurs budding, growing their business, everybody that's really making and creating their own destiny. We're trying to help. And you know what? This is the first. It will improve. It will grow. It will keep being better and better and better. But you know what? When it comes to that action plan, you got to get started. Don't get the analysis paralysis. That first step is often the most difficult. So thank you, Jillian, for allowing me to drive you absolutely crazy.
No, I love it. Everybody download that 28 lead magnets, start with a lead magnet, come back. When we're going to be doing these lives every Tuesday, right, Nate, at 1:00?
Yep, you got it. We will be consistent with it. Again, that's part of the goal, consistency.
Yeah, we're going to be consistent with our 1:00 Eastern Tuesday lives. What I would love to hear from all of you is, what lead magnets did you create in this process? And we're going to give you more resources to create your marketing plans. But start with that lead magnet. Let us know what you created and in the comments. And what we'll do is we're going to pick some, and I will respond with a short little video on what I thought of your lead magnet, how it could be improved, or if it's amazing and everybody should go get it.
Love it. So right now we are heavily focused on marketing. It's one of the most important things for your business. We will continue to be heavily focused on marketing. But next week, we're going to have marketing, but one of the most important things is presentation and how you make that impact. So I don't know if you want to take just a couple of minutes to set the stage for what next Tuesday is going to be about.
Next Tuesday is going to be pretty awesome because we're actually going to have our first guest. And we're bringing on a friend of mine, Sue Huff. Sue, and actually the way I met Sue was she was doing a presentation, an investor presentation, actually for Crowdfund My Deal, which is an awesome crowdfunding platform. She was doing a presentation for that. I watched the presentation. I was so enamored with the presentation, I actually ended up investing. So I asked her if she would be so kind as to recreate that presentation. And Nate and I are going to walk through her presentation. We're going to stop her mid-presentation and point out why what she's saying is so powerful, so valuable, and how you can recreate that presentation or that presentation style for anything, not just raising capital, because we don't want to, if you're an entrepreneur, we know there's more to life than just raising capital, not just raising capital, but also how can you use a presentation format like this in order to convince somebody to give you the contract, in order to convince buyers to buy. You know, it's really about persuasion. What are you trying to persuade people to do, and how can you get people to do that using this presentation method? And I'm going to break it down for you.
And I will just say that when it comes to, if you're meeting with groups, whether you're doing podcast interview, whether you're doing these online meetups, whether you're at a conference on the stage, you are marketing, you're building your community and those networks, and how to sell yourself, your business from the stage is one of the most important things. And I don't know about you, Jillian, but I've spent tens of thousands of dollars learning a little bit, and I'm horrible at it, but how to do it a little bit better than when I started.
That cannot be true. I refuse to believe that's true. No way.
Well, definitely look forward to seeing everybody next week when we go through these lead magnets, where we take those next steps of how to present and how to grow your network. And until then, Jillian, final thoughts.
Everybody, have a wonderful week. We don't have a catchphrase yet. We got to get a catchphrase.
We finally got off the starting line. Consistency
Got
and
our catchphrase?
improvement.
We did it.
Power to the people. All right. Thank you, everybody. Truly appreciate you.
Bye.
Till next time.